those actions that require a makeup without expiation. If you remember, again, last time we talked about fasting, right, that requires also expiation, kafara. And we gave an example. We said, if you break the fast for no reason, all of a sudden you decide to do it intentionally, then the kafara of that is freeing a slave, or feeding 60 people, or doing what? Or fasting 60 consecutive days. This is the kafara for that day that you admit. So here we're going to talk about those actions that require a makeup without expiation. In other words, when fasting is mandated to be done again, but without expiation. Like, let's say, for example, if I miss a day during Ramadan, I can still do it later on throughout the year without necessarily having to do it 15 more days beside that day, right? Without feeding 60 people and all of that. So there is no expiation, there is no kafara. And we're going to talk today, as I said, about those actions that are related to this. Number one is use of suppository. Use of suppository are people who may have some problems, who are normally advanced in age. They have problems with going to restroom, for example, constipation, these kind of things. Sometimes they may need, or even ladies, they may need the suppositories. So in other words, if you are using suppositories because of that condition, then you broke the fast. Therefore, you need to replace that fast because something went into your body. The suppository went in your body, and because of that, you need to replace that with another day. Though you do not need a kafara, you don't need to pay anything extra or do anything extra, but replace that fasting with another day. Right? So, again, you need to, there might be individuals who they're not required to do it, or they do it, let's say, for example, before eating sahur. And, that's totally fine. But if they have to do it during the day, then it is totally fine, but they need to replace that with another day throughout the year. They have to make it up later. Number two, something not normally eaten, nor used for medicinal purposes. Again, something not normally eaten, nor used for medicinal purposes. Like, for example, dirt. That's not food, right? That's not something normal that you would be doing. Or reaching the body cavity, right? Like dirt, reaching the body cavity. And these things, again, they will break the fast because it's not food, but you have to make up that day. Accidentally swallowing water while cleaning, rinsing the mouth. So, again, pay attention to this one carefully. You are brushing your teeth. You intend to do it, and you know that the water is going in your mouth. Right? So as you're doing it, now all of a sudden water passes through your throat. The fasting is gone. However, I want to connect it to this one now. Follow me. If you do it accidentally, you did not mean to do it. Like all of a sudden, you forgot about it and you just drank a cup of water or a sip of water, whatever the case may be. It was out of forgetfulness. That's a different story. Then you can continue with the fasting, no problem with that. But here you know exactly what you were doing. You were brushing your teeth, you're washing your mouth, and you knew that there is a possibility of that water going deep in your throat and passing through your throat. So in that case, the fasting is gone. even though you did not intend to do it, but you knew that there was a possibility. Fasting is gone. What do you need to do? You need to replace it with something else, with another day later on. But there is no need of expiation. Why? Because you did not do that on purpose. You did not do that on purpose. And also being coerced to break one's fast, like being forced to break one's fast. And subhanAllah, there are certain countries, even nowadays, or societies, especially the place where I came from during the time of communism, in Albania, for example, we were hearing from our elders that they were making people line up during Ramadan to make sure that they are breaking their fast early in the morning by drinking water, by making sure that they are drinking water so they're not fasting. Eating, even if intentionally, in the daytime for a fast in which the person did not make the intention before Fajr. So again, when there is no intention that was done before Fajr, but you ate during the daytime, then there is no need. I mean, let's say for example you decided to fast during the day, but actually you never intended earlier before Fajr to fast. So if you fasted, no problem, fasting counts. But if you broke it, if you broke that fast during that day, then the fast must be made up in the future. Alright, another one is someone pouring water into the body cavity of a sleeping person. The sleeping person must make up the day without expiation. So again, somebody, I mean, you were sleeping or whatever. These are very rare cases, right? These are very rare cases, but it's good to also know about something like this, that if somebody makes you or you were not aware and all of a sudden, water went through you and all that, you don't need to have an expiation for that. You just make it up in the future. Or in case, somebody's kissing the spouse, for example, or there is ejaculation because of that. Ejaculation due to touching or kissing, the wife, for example, then there is no need for kafara in that case. Now, those that require actions that require nothing and are not disliked. Again, what are those actions that require nothing and are not disliked? In other words, the mubahat, the permissible acts during the fasting time. Number one, blood cupping, hijama. If somebody does hijama, no problem at all. As long as it does not weaken the person. One of our community members actually was telling me yesterday that he went to do the cupping. And he asked me this question, is it permissible? I did it during Ramadan, and I said definitely it is permissible, but I would not suggest, especially if you feel that you're going to get weak out of that. Why? Because when you do the hijama, the blood is taken out of your body and your blood pressure falls a little bit. You feel a little bit weak as well. And fasting too, when you're fasting, the blood pressure also drops. So now you have 2 drops of blood pressure right there. And for some people, especially for those who already have low blood pressure, it may be problematic. So it depends on cases. They have to be very careful when they do the hijama during the month of Ramadan, though hijama is permissible and there is nothing disliked about it. Number 2, using the siwak. Siwak is we call it the organic toothbrush. That is from the roots of particular trees that are grown in India, in Gulf countries there, in Saudi Arabia. The miswak or siwak. If you use that, even though it has a taste, there is no problem with that. It is permissible. How about toothbrush and toothpaste. These are also permissible. However, we have to be careful with the toothpaste of not allowing the toothpaste to go. And sometimes, if you're not careful, it can go down your throat. As you're washing the mouth and all of that. And it has a very, very strong odor too. Strong odor. So we want to make sure that we are really paying attention very closely when we are brushing our mouth. Though, generally speaking, scholars, they have allowed that. They have said that this is permissible. There is nothing wrong with that. Another thing too that is permissible is rinsing the mouth or the nose. But again, as you're rinsing the mouth or the nose, you have to make sure that the water is not reaching. Sometimes when you rinse it very hard and you sniff it hard, the water, it can go through the canals and it can reach the throat easily. Sometimes it happens with medication. When we take medication, for those who have sinuses, when you're taking the medication and you're sniffing that, sometimes you feel it through your throat, the medication, right? So when that's the case, that means that it's going through, through your throat. So again, water, if you're sniffing it to that level where it's going to your throat, then it breaks the fast for sure. So you have to be very careful with that. Placing a wet garment on one's body, it's totally fine as well, due to the heat, or taking a bath due to the heat. Those who require nothing yet are disliked. If one tastes some food, again, so this is a category of those actions that require nothing, however, they are disliked. They're makruh to be done during the fasting. The fasting will still be valid, you don't have to make up anything for it, but it has a karahiyah, it has something that is disliked. If one tastes some food or chews on it without swallowing, like you're not swallowing, because if you swallow then it's over. But you have no reason, except for ladies, for example, when they're cooking, or men who are cooking. Right? Except in that case, that's okay, as long as they do that for that without passing it over. But otherwise, if you have no reason, all of a sudden you're chewing something, then that's considered to be makruh, without a valid excuse. Or if someone, the husband, for example, kisses the wife, or the wife kisses the husband, while not feeling secure about that leading them to getting physical later on. If they know for sure that there is no problem in that regard, then it is fine, because we have narrations that the Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam kissed Sayyidatuna Aisha during the time when he was fasting. But again, we're talking about kissing in the face or forehead or whatever, not the other type of kiss that is so famous here, especially here in America, between the spouses. The following actions, it continues, if however one feels secure from engaging. Okay, so the following actions are recommended mustahabbat for one who is fasting. These are, now, makruh is one thing, mustahabbat, the things that are considered to be recommended, is totally the opposite of makruh here, right? Makruh is disliked, this is recommended, it's the opposite. What is recommended during fasting? To have a pre-dawn meal before Fajr, that is the sahur, and we talked about this one back. Even if it is a sip of water, that's considered also sahur. To delay it until shortly before Fajr time. To delay the sahur until right before the Fajr. Yet while being certain not to swallow anything after Fajr enters. To hasten in breaking one's fast, unless it is a cloudy day. One must be certain that Maghrib has indeed entered. Now, this is very important. Then what do you do? If you did not know about this one, and then all of a sudden, let's say for example, you're in a place you have no watches, you have no clock, you don't know what time it is, but you see the horizon, it is already dark. What do you do in that case? I mean, there are clouds. Do you break the fast or you don't break the fast? Well, it happened during the time of Sayyidina Umar radiallahu anhu, where him and the other companions, they broke the fast thinking that it is the time for Maghrib. But in reality, it was not the Maghrib time. So later on, after they broke their fast, they saw that the sky got cleared, and then all of a sudden the sun was still there. What did he command them to do? He said, you continue the fast, and then after that, you have to make up this day later. Alright? So if you break it by mistake, you thought that the time has entered. Even sometimes our watches can be wrong too. You know, the time has entered and all that. But in reality, you realize that the time has not entered for iftar. Then you continue fast. You continue to fast if you still have more time. And then in the future, after Ramadan is over, inshallah, you can replace that day with another day throughout the year. Let's leave it here for tonight.